Hey folks, welcome back. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on AWS OnAir, live at the London Summit. My name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm an enterprise architect here at AWS and joined yet again by my fabulous friend, Jasmine. Say hello, Jasmine.
Say hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Kiles. I am Adrian San Miguel's fabulous friend, but I'm a manager of product management here at AWS, working all things AWS partners and marketplace. And so that's why we have this fabulous duo joining us on this stage. We've got Nvidia and Peptone live here on this stage with us. Tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Cedric. I lead the healthcare and life science developer relations for startups.
Okay.
So I work across Europe and EMEA. It's amazing to work with our startup ecosystem. Yeah.
And I'm Carlo Fisicaro. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Peptone. We're a biotech company. We're based in London and also in beautiful Switzerland.
Switzerland is quite beautiful. At some point, I would love to get out there, but we're not here to talk about that and my machinations with all things travel. So I understand Peptone has built something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And would love to hear more about it. But before we get there, can you let us know what led you down this path? Because many of our users are typically confronted with a challenge and they don't know how to go about getting started. So any bit of glean for that for the audience would be fantastic.
Sure. Let's start from the challenge.
Yeah.
We're focused on drugging a class of proteins called intrinsically disordered.
Okay.
And when you make drugs, this is what you want to do. You want to stick something to your protein, right? Mm-hmm. And we're specialized in a class of, in a modality called small molecules.
Okay.
So, like aspirin is a small molecule. You design what is called chemical matter, and you want to stick it to your protein. Intrinsic disordered proteins are very difficult to drug historically, and they're involved in the majority of cancers and many neurodegenerative diseases, and that's why we're here. We want to drug them, and we're the first company trying to do that at scale.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is fantastic. It's very scientific, right? And you're trying to figure out how do I do this and how I do this with technology. So Nvidia got involved at some point, right? And so what I hear is that it was a long-standing relationship, but you're able to kind of come together and work on this as a startup. So tell us about that and how you're working with startups, Cedric.
So for us, it starts always with the Inception program, which is our program or virtual accelerator for startups. Mm-hmm. So Peptone at one point became a member. They piqued our interest because they're solving a hard problem, which we really like at Nvidia, solving hard problems with compute. And from there, the relationship started, and we started showing them, hey, we got some cool building blocks for doing the work you're doing in the biology field, in the protein folding field, in these different fields in biology. And from there, we started working together, and things clicked, and they've been building incredible models since then.
Yeah. And so there's a couple of ways that when AWS customers are coming to you or your own customers and they want to work with AWS, that they can work together. So part of it might be transacting on the AWS marketplace or doing a private offer where it's completely between you and that customer that's reaching out to you. So what are some of the things that you're offering today as NVIDIA?
Well, we got something called the Nvidia NIM microservice or Nvidia Inference microservices, which are containers that can be deployed on AWS services. Because it's containers, so you can go on a Kubernetes cluster or on Bedrock or on different solutions there. And that's where we try and build models or offer models that are highly optimized that these startups can take off the shelf and get going with.
Okay.
You know, I dabble some in the field of generative AI, not because I'm a specialist, but kind of because my partners and customers have forced me to go out and get educated on it. You said something very, very interesting there about giving startups access to a tuned model already. Can you help enunciate in 10 or 15 seconds why it's so important to take something that's already been tuned to get you most of the way there, and then you do the last bits that make the most sense for your business?
No, absolutely. So large language models, and generally these biology models are super complex, right? So deploying them yourself from scratch from a GitHub open source repository takes a lot of knowledge, a lot of power or manpower to deploy and set up. And so our engineering teams have taken that, done that work, optimized them, put them in simple Docker containers. I mean, it's very complex, but they've optimized this, they've tuned these things. And so this now gives you speed to deploy. You can swap out these models because every week there's new models in these fields, right? So you can swap them out as you please and just the speed of deployment, I think, is key. Speed of inference is key.
Yeah. While, I definitely want to see a demo of what some of this might look like, but while you're spinning up this demo and getting ready for it, Carlo, what does that mean to you as a startup, as somebody who wanted to do something novel that other people were not doing, but you needed to lead your technology team? What does that mean to work with something that's already fine-tuned or, kind of NVIDIA knew the playbook?
Yeah, as Cedric said, those models are very complex.
Yep.
You can think about them as images. Instead of pixels, you have atoms with proteins. The model should be pretty easy nowadays to be deployed. Well, not really, because atoms are much worse to be handled, and you need physics to handle them, which means the number of microservices you have to deploy, and you have to orchestrate. And for us at Peptone, the challenge is even worse, because it's even more challenging because we have to develop everything from scratch. Why? Because intrinsically, these other proteins are unique. You don't have data sets. We create our own data sets. And with Nvidia, we managed to create a pretty, I think, cool a pretty cool Kubernetes-based infrastructure where we can deploy those services and we can train those pretty big generative models and just swap them very easily and swap the data set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I love to hear that. And, it's unique. You're bringing in physics into it. It's, sometimes over my head, but I'd love to see, the finished product. It makes sense.
Physics is all over the shop here, so you'll see that.
Every time you say physics, I think back to high school with the marble drop project, or drop an egg from the top of a football stadium to see if it cracks. But significantly harder, significantly higher stakes. Would love to see what this looks like.
Yeah. So Cedric, show us what this looks like if someone's going to explore, your library and what it looks like, and then we'll go into detail on what you've done with Peptone.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we're going to bring up Cedric's
people
screen
can
here.
see my screen here.
Yeah.
In a second.
They're going to bring it up.
And then once you see the screen, right, so what I'll walk you through is something called build.nvidia.com, which is one of our websites where we have our library of inference microservices. And so these names are the prepackaged containers. They're in different domains. Here it pops up. So they're in different domains, and when you go through the actual models here on top, you can go to use cases, and in this case, we'll talk about drug discovery, but it goes about image generation, it goes about language generation, code generation, you name it. We have a model in the field.
Okay.
When we go to drug discovery or drug generation, there's AlphaFold. I mean, I have to show AlphaFold, right? It won a Nobel Prize, so we probably want to talk briefly about it. And so what you can do here is just play and try and experience the model, and then if you're happy with it, you can pull the container and deploy it where you want, right? So there's easy ways to do it. So what you see here is a serotonin receptor. You see the amino acid sequence, and based on that, it generated the structure, which you can kind of manipulate and look at. Now, obviously, for people like Carlo, this is very understandable. For non-biologists like me, and I think you guys, maybe, this is a nice picture, right? This looks great. Now, by itself, AlphaFold is great, but you want to combine it, and that's where we have these blueprints. So if I go on top here, go to blueprints, I'm going to scroll down real quick. There's kind of blueprints to do interesting things like video search and digital humans and all these things. But we're talking about using generative AI to do drug discovery or build drugs.
Okay.
And so we've combined a number of these models. And you see on top here, you see OpenFold 2, MSA search, GenMol. So a number of these models we combined. We put some, let's say, glue in between to have them talk to each other and put them in what's called a blueprint. And now this you can deploy, add your own data, and start iterating on this stack to discover new drugs, right? Obviously, you need your own data. You might need to retrain a little bit. Yeah. But out of the box, it's already quite amazing. And this is what we try and offer to customers that, unlike Peptone, don't want to train their own models. They want to use these state-of-the-art models themselves and start developing drugs with their data set that they have.
Yeah, I could definitely see how this would make someone go to market faster, right? And it gets them through all of the other processes that they're talking about, like that we hear about as consumers of, you need to be able to get to testing and the trials and all of these things, but, being able to see the back end of what happens even before that is fascinating.
It's about speed.
Yeah.
Right? Speed to market. That's what we want.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, let's hear more about Peptone. What you brought your data sets. You know that you have your data sets. You have this problem. You're wanting to get to market fast. So tell us about what you did and what you created.
Yeah. So when it will show up, I'll show you.
The magic behind the scenes. They'll swap your screen for you.
Will
bring that up.
But in the meantime, The challenge here was to create a model that was able to describe those intrinsically disordered proteins.
Yep.
And no one has ever done that before because they didn't have data. So we had to acquire data in a high throughput manner. That's why we created our own hardware to do that and our own microservices. And then we had to use what is called molecular dynamics to describe a number of conformations our protein has. That is physics. It's not machine learning.
Okay.
And as you can imagine, it's slow. And you can't describe a full-length protein, just a section. It's like me asking you, okay, you have this sentence. You know what? I can study only 3 words, not the entire sentence. There is an issue, right? We want to solve this issue. And that's why we developed a model to do that. So once the screen will show up, indeed, I'll show you. But you can think about it indeed in this way. Here you have an avocado. And as you can see on the right, you see that the avocado has a core that is empty. You could not see that from the image on the left, right?
Okay.
And we do the same for proteins. You understand what an intrinsically disordered protein is with its ensemble, with the video. And you have to create a model. As Cedric showed you, you start with an amino acid sequence. It's like words in a sentence, but then you have to generate a number of conformations. This is what we do.
Okay.
Now, if you think about it, in an image, you don't really care if a pixel is misplaced. In a protein, you do care about it. Because if an atom is misplaced, the energy will go up to infinity, and your ensemble, your structure will be useless.
Okay.
So you do have to take care of that, and that's why physics.
Yeah, it's about precision.
It's about precision, and it's about, as I said, physics. You have to make sure that your structures respect the laws of nature.
Okay.
And this is what we're doing, a model able to do that.
Yeah, Carlo, you make it seem so simple. You're like, we have to make sure that the atoms are not out of place so that they just go on for infinity. But you're like, it's so simple. But it seems like you were able to put together those simple, solutions that really made it all come together. Adrian, I know you're noodling on something. What's your question for him?
I'm noodling on a lot. And what I can appreciate is something that is so insanely complex can be made digestible, communicable, and people can go and understand why it's so important. This, I think, in my opinion, I'm sure we all agree, this is the magic of generative AI. We want to make the impossible real. We want to make it attainable. We want to make it so that we can distill the most complex of things into something anybody can understand.
Yeah. What else, Carlo?
Look, here's the thing. All models, by definitions, are wrong. And
Thank you.
What people been using in the last 20 years in this field are models, physics-based models, but still models.
Yeah.
And they are wrong. They're not right. But it was, the best thing we had. With generative AI, you can fill the gap. Because this is the thing I want you to understand today from this chat. If you take molecular dynamics, which is a way to describe the dynamics of your protein with physics, well, what you use are forces that are only approximated. They're not real. They're not really precise. Generative AI can fill the gap.
So this is also something I've been harping on for quite some time, and I know you are so tired of hearing me say it. The appropriate way, in my opinion, as a longtime technologist, is you take the technology and you apply it to solve a real business problem, instead of working backwards from a potential problem in search of a solution. I think the key here, and something that I can appreciate, given my background, is how you were able to partner with somebody that would not only get you most of the way there, but be intrinsically linked to and incentivized to help you succeed as well. Because a blueprint is great. A shortcut is great. Being able to get somebody from concept through blueprint to delivery to production to have profound impact on folks, that's special. That's something we really don't see enough of. And I love the work that you're doing here.
Yeah. I want to hear a little bit about the computational efforts. I hear that there's a lot of GPUs involved.
Just some,
Yeah, just a few, I guess, right?
Nobody wants GPUs at this point.
What's the scale of this, the magnitude of what you needed for GPUs to make this happen?
We're talking about roughly 100 GPUs H100.
Wow.
This is what we're talking about for a single run. And this is cheap comparing to what I said before, molecular dynamics. For molecular dynamics, we need 50 for each run, and we usually run 10 different jobs in parallel.
Yeah.
And we usually run 10 different targets in parallel, so 100 times 50. This is what we are talking about.
Wow. So that's why Nvidia was essential, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the tooling comes in as well, right? 'Cause
Right.
to efficiently use this kind of, 100 times 50 you said?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a lot of GPUs. You want to use them efficiently, and that's,
Yeah.
I think, where these toolings and these tricks come in play.
Yeah.
And if I may say, it's not even about only GPUs. It's
Yep.
Also about how you distribute your workload and how you create the
Absolutely.
microservices. This is where Nvidia really helped.
Yeah, something many customers tend to forget about is exactly what you mentioned. GPUs are great, but how are you going to get it from cluster A to cluster B to your storage medium to actually go manipulate and do something?
Yeah.
So something you touched on. We have a good idea how many GPUs were in use. What is the total time in getting one of these runs done comparatively to what it could have taken in the past? Is there any data that you could share with us around that?
Yeah, of course. For a 50 residues long sequence, which is like a 50 letters sentence, with molecular dynamics, it takes roughly 3 weeks.
Okay.
3 weeks
Wow.
to get a starting point,
Wow.
not the final, 3D,
Yeah.
not the final ensemble. And we worked a lot at Peptone on that together with Nvidia, by the way, because before it was 2 months and it wasn't automated. Now it's automated. It's a single click.
Yeah.
This is game changer.
Yeah.
But still, 3 weeks. Whereas with a generative AI base model, the inference is about 15 seconds, 30 seconds. And you do have some differences in terms of accuracy, but you can always use molecular dynamics as a template, so as a starting point, so that your generative model will be good enough.
Yeah. Wow. It's fascinating to see the amount of time that is being saved. You're using hundreds of thousands of hours, right? But like you're able to do it over a short span and cut that down to get on. What does that enable you to do with other, companies that might be approaching Peptone? Like what's next? What does this mean?
Of course, this is indeed a game changer and
Yeah.
enabler, because now we are able to screen 70 billion small molecules, so these chemical compounds, in less than 2 months, so 7 billion molecules weekly, roughly. And this is possible only because we have these models.
Yeah.
It wasn't possible before. And it means that you can screen this chemical space, all these configurations you couldn't check before. Before you had to apply some filters, create what are called local models, so models that are very specialized. And as you all know, specialized models are very good at what they know, but we
Yes.
want the models to be good at what they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why you need this kind of throughput. So it's an enabler, and that's why we're able to drug quite a few proteins.
Yeah. Wow.
So something you mentioned also, and given your background, I know you have sharp opinions on it. Many customers and partners that I speak to tend to believe I need the universal model, the one that's great at everything. Is there such a thing as a universally great model?
Yeah, I think we want the same. If a model is good at everything, it means it must be good. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And now in the field, you see those agents that are specialized and incorporated into bigger models. We are going into that direction also in pharma and in biotech drug discovery.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but we're catching up. So yeah, I think that's the future of the field.
Yeah. I would say this is just novel, right? Like you are going to have so many people approaching Peptone because you've done something that no one else can do, right? And you've done that working with AWS and working with Nvidia. So like, tell us what is next for Nvidia and Peptone. Don't spill the secret sauce. I saw the looks. You don't have to spill the secret sauce. Tell us.
No. Actually, no secret. We are developing this generative model able to create the ensemble, the video I talked about before. And we're using a proprietary data set for that, and we are going to make it open source. So this model will be open source and also its data set, because we want the whole community to know what the problem is, because many people don't know even why their models are wrong, and we want them to be able to evaluate the performance of these models, because it's not like using a simple logic here. You really need to understand physics to understand if the configurations you predicted are good or not. And a machine learning guy, a computational guy, probably don't know that. So that's our job.
Yeah.
And it will be out pretty soon.
Okay.
I mean, what can I add to that, right?
What is?
What is there to add to that?
Yeah.
Right? That's the work we've been doing.
Yeah.
I think we're super excited to see this go open source. It's been great working with the Peptone team. They've made work with them very easy.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the results to come out, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that we're going to hear a lot more from Peptone and Nvidia working together with AWS. Adrian.
Something that you mentioned, and I love how this wasn't planned. We're naturally segueing. Leaning into those partner relationships is so huge in helping partners get things done.
Yeah.
And for a lot of reason, more and more partners are getting gun shy with wanting to partner with an outside entity, with the hardware vendor, with the storage vendor, GPUs such as Nvidia. They think I could just go buy them and do it on my own. They don't want to help me. Absolutely wrong. Every single win I have seen in the realm of generative AI at AWS has had multi-party plays within it. NVIDIA has been core to many of them. It just goes to show, if you're a partner, if you're a customer, lean into these relationships. They're so fruitful, they are mutually beneficial. And to your point, if you got a blueprint or a starting point to get going so you can rapidly iterate, build, learn from your mistakes, get better at the model, you're going to shortcut most of the way there.
Yep.
And I have to commend you for that. This is fantastic.
Yeah. And I love, like, Cedric, when you were showing us earlier the library that's available through NVIDIA, it's customizable, right? Peptone said, I need something unique. I'm doing something novel that no one has ever done before. But you kind of had a foundation for it already established, which could help you scale and get everything going. And I think it's just fantastic. I'm excited for it. We're going to hear a lot more from Peptone this year, as well as NVIDIA. But thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here on the stage. Remember, we are live. We are dropping links in the chat all day. We want you to go check out what NVIDIA has to offer on the AWS Marketplace and also with the Inception Startup Program. So we've gotten you plenty of resources there. And Adrian, what do we have up next?
We have got a lot coming up next. We've got a little bit of everything, but the most important thing is we've got you. We've got you in the chat. We've got Jasmine right here.
But you know who else we have coming to the stage?
I would love to know who.
We have our tallest host coming to this stage. It is our hype man, Aaron Hunter. You don't want to miss this. We know he's high in demand.
He was literally right behind you right now.
He paid me to do that.
Oh, that was a perfect setup.
But yeah, stay tuned and we'll be back with more.